After a few lighter episodes, we are back to a heartbreaker one. So get your tissues ready, this one's going to be rough. This episode of Heartstopper is where we get a really deep look into Charlie and what he is feeling and going through. We see just how damaged he is. Even the title card is broken. We see Nick starting to step up and defend Charlie against the bullying, and we see the 3 bullies at work. Yes, 3. Ben, Harry, and a surprising one. Let's do this. Bully number 1, Ben. Ben reaches new heights of cruel behaviour in this one. He deliberately seeks out Charlie just to verbally attack and tear into him, and we see that he's done this before in the past in a flashback. We'll look at the flashback a bit later. For now, I want to focus on Ben at the movie and the car park scene. Before the movie, we see Ben is denying that he knows Charlie, saying,
"So your mate Ben?"
Who, Charlie? Never even spoken to him.
This is on brand with how Ben ran the relationship, always in secret and denying everything.
Why are you talking to me? I don't even know who you are.
But we also start to see that he is insanely jealous and wants to keep control over Charlie. He sees this control slipping away completely when he sees Nick and Charlie holding hands during the movie. The jealousy drives him to leave the group and be waiting in the deserted car park to confront Charlie about it. And like any predator, he waits for Charlie to be alone before he goes in for the attack. After all the bullying from Harry and all the past experiences with Ben, Charlie has nothing left to defend himself, and Ben is just downright cruel. The first time I watched this, I didn't grasp just how horrible it was. I was just watching a fun show, and yeah, they talked about some deep stuff, but I wasn't prepared for this. Ben is all up in Charlie's face about what is going on with Nick, asking if they're getting together, and tells Charlie off for lying when he denies it.
Are you going out with him then?
No.
But you are getting with him.
No.
Don't lie.
Which Charlie, of course, does to protect Nick. Ben is not happy and starts laying into Charlie, saying,
Well, I believe that you're not going out with him. As if anyone would ever want to go out with someone as desperate as you.
Charlie says you did, and Ben fully unleashes every horrible thing he can imagine.
You were just there like some tragic loser when let bullies walk all over you. I never liked you.
Personally attacking Charlie, and he finishes by saying,
I'm not even gay, I just felt really sorry for you.
Charlie's dad shows up before he can think of a response, but Ben has won. Ben has broken Charlie again, and this sets off all of Charlie's actions for the rest of the episode. Bully number 2, Harry. Harry is so obnoxious, overblown, and rude that his character almost feels too forced. But there's something that I picked up on while doing my watch through for this video, and that is Harry is actively seeking out a fight, and that made me wonder why. We've seen in the last few episodes that Harry is always the one starting the fights, by running into people, shouting at them, or throwing something, and this episode is no exception. He calls out the insults to Nick and Charlie before the movie, and after the movie he tries to get a rise out of Charlie. And when that fails, he starts pushing Nick. He even asks Tao twice if he wants to fight, and then actively grabs the artwork to make the fight happen. In the fight with Nick, he comes off second best, but the next day at school, he's itching for that fight with Tao. Why? What is he trying to get out of this? Personally, I think that Harry is gay, and is attracted to Nick, and hates himself for it. The more he is seeing Nick happy with a gay Charlie, the worse the bullying is getting, and more homophobic. He tries to be Nick's best friend, inviting Nick to his party, but Nick spends all his time with Charlie. He tries to hook Nick up with Tara or Imogen to prove that he likes girls, but that doesn't work. Harry is losing Nick, and this is making him lash out, as he doesn't know what else to do to keep him. The fighting then is an extension of his frustration, and his need to be touching people. We see this tipping point after the movie, when Nick follows Charlie out, and we get a strange hanging shot of a very angry and possibly hurt Harry. The next time we see him, he is actively pushing Nick until Nick finally punches him. He did everything he could to get Nick into the fight, but it's not enough, so he goes after Tao as a way to hurt Charlie for taking Nick away. Well, that's my theory anyway, and maybe we'll get more of him in season 3. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Bully number 3, Tao. Tao is not intentionally being a bully. He is just hurt and confused. But that doesn't mean that his actions weren't damaging to Charlie and to Harry. I know Harry has been bullying Tao, but two wrongs don't make a right, and Tao has been as cruel to Harry as Harry has been to him.
Wow. I think you hurt his feelings. Good.
Tao even confirms to Elle that he has been fighting back verbally, and he can see that he's probably made things worse.
You know that'll just make you both a target.
Yeah, well, I can see that now.
But when Harry instigates the fight by stealing the artwork, Tao is straight up pushing Harry in the back and throwing his drink in his face.
I hate you!
I get Tao's frustrations in this moment, as he is fighting with Charlie and alone, and that scares him more than anything. But, as Nick's mum said,
fighting's not the answer.
Where Tao's behaviour crosses the line, if it hasn't already, is how he deals with Charlie. When Tao finds out that everyone has known about Nick and Charlie dating, he is understandably hurt. He's the only one that doesn't know, and to him, he is the only one fighting to protect Charlie. He understands why Charlie might not tell him.
He thinks that I'll accidentally say something stupid and out Nick to all of Nick's mates.
But that doesn't mean it hurt any less to have your best friend not tell you something so important. I'm not saying that it's all on Tao here. Some of this is on Charlie. Charlie has the right to tell people, or not tell people, about Nick and him. And given Tao's attitude towards Nick, you cannot blame him for wanting to hold back. However, I do feel it's unfair that Tao is the only one that doesn't know from the group. Charlie actually doesn't tell anyone about Nick. Nick is the one that tells Tara, Darcy and Elle. So we understand that Charlie wants to be the one to tell Tao, but his fears of Nick being outed like he was stops Charlie from actually doing it. Tao's anger and hurt spills over when Charlie pulls him away from the fight with Harry. He yells at Charlie, saying,
I thought we were friends, but I guess you've just forgotten about me. Tao, this is all your fault. Just leave me alone.
For someone that knows Charlie as well as he does, this is a low blow, just to hurt Charlie as much as he is hurting. I know some of you will think that it's just two friends fighting, and Tao is not a bully. But is he any different to Ben or Harry here? He uses intimate knowledge of Charlie to verbally hurt him like Ben, and physically attacks Harry like Harry attacks him and Nick. We know that Tao is coming from a good place, and is just hurt. Thankfully, this behaviour only lasts this episode, and we get the good Tao back soon. Nick. Never push a good person to a breaking point. It will not be pretty. And boy does Nick snap in this one. With Charlie at his side, he finally sees just how horrible his friends are, and he takes a stand. Nick invites Charlie to the movies with him, and it's a huge step forward. He is more confident and wanting to share Charlie with the people he thinks of as friends, as Charlie has been doing with him and his friends. He does the right thing for Charlie and checks to make sure that Ben and Harry aren't coming.
You'll be fine. Ben and Harry aren't coming.
And I love the hug that they share when Charlie gets to the movies. Nick doesn't care if anyone sees. Protective Nick is on display before and after the movie. He makes sure Charlie is okay as they walk up and lightens the mood, calling Charlie,
Well, you kind of are a gay nerd.
Shut up, rugby lad.
He also removes Charlie from the group by suggesting they get popcorn. Nick notices the food thing and reaches for Charlie's elbow, but is distracted by calling Charlie Char and Charlie's response to it.
Say it again. No. Go on.
No!
I like it. It's cute.
Once the movie is done, yes, we'll come back to the hand holding in a minute, we see Nick and Charlie's playful banter until Harry crashes it. All the rude questions towards Charlie gets Nick's back up, and he tries to step in, but is once again hurt when Charlie has to deny liking Nick just to keep their cover. You can see Nick wants to confront Harry then and there, but Charlie is his priority, and he follows him out. Nick tries to say sorry and that they should have just left, and we get the most heartbreaking line of the episode.
I'm honestly used to it by now.
Nick is officially done and goes and confronts Harry. Harry pushes all of Nick's buttons, forcing Nick to finally start the fight with Harry. As his mum says,
Sweetheart, you know fighting's not the answer.
But there's a part of me that's like, yes, thank you. The next day in class, Nick talks to Charlie about what happened and gets so angry when Charlie repeats the line,
I promise. I'm used to people saying stuff about me.
No, but you shouldn't have to be.
and heatedly tells Charlie he's not allowed to use the S word. He says he is done with his friends and that he is just tired, and we get Nick's first recharging on Charlie moment. Nick has come so far in the last few episodes, and we finally see it all come together here. He knows more about himself and what he wants, and he's always willing to stand up for what he believes in. We see this at the end too, when he goes into the fight to save Tao. But this time he's in control of himself, and he's doing the right thing, and when Harry starts in on him, he doesn't respond. He's moved on and will no longer let Harry or anyone push him around. The one thing hanging over his head is what Charlie was going to say at lunch. Before we get to Charlie's path through this episode, I want to just enjoy the hand-holding at the movies. Nick being, wait, I like that, let's do it again, but just checks that no one's watching first. Okay, everyone. Deep breath. Let's unpack Charlie. Well, he may have been on the back burner for the last few episodes, but he comes out swinging in this one. We see how broken and beaten down he is, and even though Nick gives him some good moments to keep his head up, overall, he is drowning. He is struggling with having to hide Nick, and the fact that they haven't labelled what they have yet. He is struggling with the increase in bullying from Harry, and that is triggering all of his bad behaviours. And he is seeing the people he cares about having a rough time, and he blames himself for all of it. And if all of that wasn't bad enough, Ben gets in his head again, and he thinks Nick would be better off without him. We see in a flashback Charlie trying to be more with Ben, inviting him over and calling them boyfriends. This puts Ben on the defensive, and he immediately shuts down Charlie, saying,
We're not boyfriends.
This idea is triggering Charlie to be worried about Nick and he. We know Ben is emotionally tearing Charlie apart here as a way to control him, but Charlie hasn't dealt with that and worries that Nick might feel the same. We can clearly see that Nick is nothing like Ben, as Nick wants to be with Charlie no matter where they are, but this damage from Ben that happened over and over again lingers and clouds Charlie's judgment. It also affects the way he is with Nick. He is so worried about being the reason that Nick gets outed or of hurting Nick in any way that he questions everything that he is doing. He doesn't know how to have a healthy relationship, but I'm sure Nick will help him get there in time. Charlie deals with all the bullies in different ways. With Harry, he tries to brush it off and pretend that it's all okay and that he's used to it. With Ben, he shuts down. He cannot fight that level of continued degrading verbal abuse. He does try to fight back, but nothing ever really sticks. With Tao, he is left speechless, or begging Tao to leave a situation alone. There is one moment that makes me like Charlie even more, and that is that he is genuinely worried about what happened to Harry, the boy who is making his life hell, even in that moment, and Charlie cares enough to ask.
What happened to you?
Charlie takes the burden of Nick's problems onto his shoulders and is constantly saying that it's his fault that Nick got into the fight and is losing all his friends. Charlie's self-loathing takes over, and he thinks the best thing he can do for Nick is to leave him. If they hadn't been interrupted by the Tao and Harry fight, then they would have potentially broken up then and there at lunch. You can see in that moment that Charlie cannot find the words, and Nick is almost praying that he doesn't. There is so much emotion in this scene, and it's almost a blessing that there's a fight to break it up. Except that means that we get the Tao incident. Everything Charlie is feeling about screwing up Nick's life, Tao says Charlie did to him in one gut-wrenching moment. Everything he is worrying about is confirmed, and we are left on his heartbroken face. This series should be called Heartbroken, not Heartstopper. Let's look at Nellie for a moment to calm down. This is a doozy of an episode with so much going on. It was hard to watch at times, and everyone seems so mean. Nick and Charlie both get some really good character development, and maybe we understand the bullies just a little more now. And as always, thanks for watching, and let's see what other secrets we can uncover next time on Nerdy Investigations.